Doje Shangi Kompam Yuto. Let's do the four limitless contemplation. May all beings have happiness and create the causes of happiness. May they all be free from suffering and creating the causes of suffering. May they find that noble happiness which can never be tainted by suffering. May they attain universal impartial compassion, free of worldly bias towards friends and enemies. Semchen damje dewatang dewe jutang den ba jutik, dungal tang dungal chichu tang trawa jutik, dungal mepe dewa tampa tang mindra waya jutik, nering chak tang ni tang drawe chang no jempo lani pa juche. So, we're doing part 3 today of the slow boat or the fast train and uniting the path and goal of enlightenment, which all of you know is about the sharp VAJRA of awareness Tantra that was written by Dajjam Lingpa, before Dajjam Rinpoche, Dajjam Lingpa. And what I want to say is I was going to just give you one session today more, and then I was going to leave it and go back. But when I was going through my notes in the early morning this morning, I thought, you know what? There's too much to teach even on the one verse. And I would much rather teach you and have your, I love it when you feed me and you tell me things that you feel, and like you, Ron, often, both of you often give great contributions to the teaching that I'm giving. And I'd much rather take it a little bit slower, because if I do just finish off with this today, then I've got to rush through it, and I don't want to do it. It's too precious, the teaching. And remember, it applies to everything in your life, to your whole spiritual journey, not just to the actual Tantra and knowing it. It really applies to everything. So I saw a quote the other day. I always write quotes down when I see them, but I don't know where I saw it, but I saw it in some good thing, and I wrote it down, and I think it starts the whole thing off, and the quote goes, "Enlightenment is connectivity, not autonomy." Enlightenment is connectivity, not autonomy. Now, I think it's vital, because a lot of people find the state of enlightenment something out there to be sought after and to be in bliss, in nirvana, divorced from all the problems of the world. But nothing could be further from the truth. Even if you do manage to make it to one of the Pure Lands at death, you're going to do that not to land up in bliss, but to be able to go and serve. I mean, it's a hard job. We've got to see that all sentient beings are on the path to enlightenment. So whatever path we take is to take us to connectivity with every single being and every single thing. That's the aim of it, okay? The Buddha was connected. So what he did was, whenever he saw people like us who were really a bit not understanding things, he used something very important called skillful means to actually get across what he really, really wanted to get beings to connect with everything. He never gave you these highfalutin teachings. He gave them to some people who could understand, but he never gave them these highfalutin teachings that went over your head. He used the skillful means to actually connect and to make people connect with their Buddha nature. And from last week, several people said that they actually got what Dajjam Lingpa was saying about awareness, knowing, Rigpa, that everything is an expression of your essence. They got that, and I had a few things from people. But the question was, how do you apply this in a practical way to your life? How do you apply it? You see, the whole essence, the whole purpose of this is you don't have to work out how to apply it. You just have to retrain your mind to realize that its true nature, Rigpa, awareness, intrinsic awareness, has so much more than Sem, your human mind, which is always working out effort, planning, analyzing, and everything. And so in the beginning, when you want to apply this, you start to become aware of what Sem does all the time. Okay, how Sem does it. Now, I'm doing it beautifully in moving out of a house. I'm actually doing it because Sem says, do this, see that you're there, see that you got that. There is a certain amount that you have to do. But the minute I allow Sem Ni, not Sem, the human part, Sem Ni, to operate through me, it's a kind of a surrender to the whole process and let the solution flow through you spontaneously, effortlessly. You let them things be. And then Sem Ni, Rigpa, starts working for you. But when you get that, and Jilly, this was also your question at the end, when you get that, Sem, the human part of the mind, and your idea of self, a self, okay, Sem and me, Melanie, the self, start fighting back to be in control. So before we know where we are, the habits dissolve. We want to dissolve those habits, or the habit takes over, the momentum of the habit takes over. So you have to keep retraining over and over again. You have to see, what does my human mind do over and over again? And you know what's absolutely exquisite? I'm going to take you through a meditation. And when you understand the habitual patterning, the perception, all the skandhas and how we use them, when you begin to understand that, it's the most amazing thing, because then you realize that one of the wisdoms automatically dissolves the habit momentum, which is such an amazing thing. The wisdom of perfected action, when you understand it, dissolves the habit momentum automatically. But then remember, because of all the training in the habit momentum, it comes back very, very quickly. So then your awareness says, oh, I'm doing it again. Look at me. I'm judging this person. I'm analyzing what to do. Hello, Patricia. I'm analyzing what to do. I'm busy doing this and that and the other and the other. And you watch it. And so as soon as you do it, you stop. And eventually you don't do it at all. You just, when you're in a pickle, when you're in something, you don't apply believing and analyzing and everything, because that is what spoils us. Those beliefs conditioned by your past. You know, I've started to pack up my collection of books, not my Buddhist books, but the books we have in our library. Such an interesting thing, because my father had the most beautiful collection of books, which when we rushed in here, I think it was maybe just after their death or whatever, I just shoved them on shelves and everything. But now that I'm actually getting rid of stuff, I'm going through and I see how his mind worked. I mean, you know, he obviously had parents who were very intellectual, and they taught him to be intellectual, and I was taught to be intellectual by him. And so I could see by his book collection, what's happened to me is some of these are exquisite books, all the classics, all the everything. But basically, am I going to read them? I don't know, because maybe I've changed. Maybe the intellect that I was pushed into has changed. And so that was part of Sem. And now I'm looking with Sem Ni, and Sem Ni doesn't give a damn about intellect, not a damn. I mean, Sem Ni operates however many degrees you battled to get. It doesn't make the slightest difference. When you come to the gate of death, there you are, raw and naked. Even if you've got 10 degrees, it doesn't make any difference. And I look at my children, I want to actually sit them down and say, you know, as I was going through these books, I really realized the conditioning that I got, which I passed on to my children. My poor children all had to go to university and do a whole lot of degrees and things like that, you know. Well, it's not a bad thing. They can get into the world, but maybe I stopped them from really finding Semni. Maybe I did. These are just things that I ponder in my head, but it's so interesting because I want to write them a letter and I want to say, I want to tell you about your granny and grandfather, my parents, and what I found when I was going off the shelf. They're probably not really interested, but you know, I want to tell them what I found so that they also have a chance to maybe open into a different dimension. So that's what I'm saying is the important thing in this Tantra, to be able to stop doing the habitual things that Sem does. And I've got a beautiful, tiny little story which goes, one day Mara, who's Satan, the Buddhist god of ignorance and evil, was traveling through the villages of India with his attendants. He saw a man doing walking meditation, whose face was lit up in wonder. The man had just discovered something in the ground, on the ground in front of him. Mara's attendants asked what that was, and Mara replied, "A piece of truth." "Doesn't this bother you when someone finds a piece of truth, oh evil one?" they asked him. "No," Mara replied. "Right after this, they usually make a belief out of it." Now, I love that story because it's a very interesting thing. What do we do with our insights? What do we do when we see the world very, very differently? What do we do? How do we apply it in our lives, okay? And really, in the whole description of the sharp VAJRA of awareness Tantra, it's so interesting because we are trying to cultivate pure vision. Pure vision. Now, what does this mean? What does pure vision mean? Pure vision, the meaning is trying to see things, perceive things as they really are, without our conditioned perception distorted, all our distorted things. We're trying to open our eyes and say, hey, this is a tree. Hey, this is a person I don't like. Putting the question mark, what is that showing to me? How did I create this person in front of me? You know you created it. Because that person in front of you, no matter how bad they are, is there because of your creation and your need to change something so that you can get to pure vision. Nothing's for nothing. So when you do the deity practice, when you do the practices of Vajrayana, especially the deity practice, the mandala, and all of that kind of thing, you're retraining your mind in pure vision. If you looked during the Chenrezi Puja, what it says is at the end, now everything is the beautiful Deva Chen, and all the sounds are the sounds of the pure mantra, and all the minds are in one. There's no duality. And so I don't know another way to actually get you to have pure vision. I'm going to teach you what Dajjam Lingpa says. But the way we have it is when we really enter the mandala of the practice, okay? And we see, hey, even though this world seems to be impure, it's actually pure. We just can't relate to it and we can't see it. And all my difficulties that I had, what were they about? They were just to purify your vision, nothing else. You know, like Bern, you laugh, the two of us with the computers crashing and all that kind of thing. I can see so clearly in your life that everything you do, which is logical, organized, consistent, you don't stop doing that, but you don't attach to it and become obsessed with it. That's what you are seeing in the mirror. You do what you do well. That's wonderful. All of us can do it, but you're not obsessed with that attachment. So as I was preparing this talk, I wanted to say all these things to you. Maybe someone wants to comment or ask. Please do, because we're going to go straight onto the actual Tantra and take it as far as we can today. I'm not rushing. If you want to ask something, please don't think that your questions are stupid, or your comments, or why you don't understand. I'm so happy, because I think we have to actually understand this if we want to go on a spiritual path. It's not just like this. It's like this, opening your heart out to everything. Ask if you want to, or say if you want to, and then we're going to go on to verse 4.
I have a small little story. I don't know if how relevant could be. Is I don't remember the location, but basically these ships arrived in this continent or something like that, and the indigenous people, they couldn't see, they couldn't perceive the presence of those ships, and because they didn't have a concept, they just couldn't see it. I don't know if you're familiar with that story.
I don't know that story, but it makes such sense, because when you think about it, I mean, you see, I mean, even amongst our Black people, they have an entirely different look on life, on death, on everything, you know. And we expect, I mean, think about when, for instance, the British came and invaded all these lands and brought all their culture and their belief systems and their everything. And so many, certainly in Africa, couldn't relate to it in any way. They have a different, and usually a more primitive version is much closer to the truth than our intellectual version. That's the funny part. So I think that's what you're saying to me, that the indigenous people understand nature and the truth about everything. The intellectual people, what Mara says, make a belief out of whatever there is, and that's what it is, you know. And I'm just looking in South Africa at the moment. I'm looking in what's happening in Tshwane. I mean, they had this very, very good mayor who was rooting out corruption and all of that kind of thing. So now the opposition have swung over to the ANC. They've ousted him out, and they're going to put one of their cronies in so they can start pinching again. I mean, it's unbelievable. So all our beliefs, all our things are just what we've created with Sem, and we need to go past them, really. So let's go to verse 4, Bern, if you don't mind, if you can. If you can't, then we won't even read it, but let's go to verse 4. Let's just read this together, and then I'm going to give you lots of explanations for it, but they're very deep, and I'm going to give you not so much depth, but just lots of explanation. But let's read this together aloud. Establishing the characteristic and quality of the ground. The nature of all apparent existence is emptiness, not empty, emptiness. The great emptiness is naturally complete within the nature of the path. It's just there. The essence, Dharmakaya, Buddha nature, is beyond being altered or contrived by either samsara or nirvana, free from all conceptual extremes, endowed with the 3 gates of liberation. We'll talk about those. The 5 kayas, the 5 families, the 5 wisdoms, the 5 Buddha fields, the 5 fathers, the 5 mothers, and the 3 jewels and the 3 roots, enlightened families, mandalas, empowerment, propitiation. They are all naturally complete within the nature of the Mahayoga. Now, it's very interesting, and I will come to that. I'm not going to do detailed teaching because what I'm intending is to do one teaching either on a Monday morning or a Tuesday night, but you can access it on the 5s because it's the way the essence expresses itself. And for me, until you are so familiar with it that you can just change it at any moment. You don't have to go and look up what was this wisdom, what's the skanda, what's the Buddha, what's this? No, it's within your mind so that you are able to just go to it like that. And that's when you can start to see pure perception. You must know these things, okay? And then in the body with the 5 arrangements, the purification and transmutation of the nadi, prana, and bindu, the path of blazing and dripping, empowerments, and the 4 kinds of bliss are all spontaneously present as the play of Buddha nature. We'll just talk briefly about that, not now. In essence, Dharmakaya is the space free from all the signs. Yet in accordance with samsara, the bondage of names and forms is taught. Why? In order to lead those who, grasping at permanence, are to be tamed. So because we can't understand the outcome of the great completion, the great perfection, we have to be given names and a gradual path so that we can get to understand it. But those of you who came with the understanding in this lifetime, please be my guest. Leap into it. It's very important. Okay. In essence, in order to refrain from the 6 fixations, we'll talk about them, the entrance of samsara will be blocked by the 3, clarity, purity, and emptiness. Those are the 3 we keep. Therefore, all the contrived provisional reality, just like all the rivers come and return to the ocean, along with the yanas, manifest and dissolve into Buddha nature. Therefore, this is called the ground great completion. Simply what he's saying there is, all the different practices, the different yanas, as they're called in the Nyingma lineage, they each have one of the things, but they're only there to lead you to the great completion. So what I'm teaching you, I want you to have in mind. And seeking the path of the Tirthikas is attachment to eternalism and nihilism. Due to utterly clinging to appearances and experiences, the mind stream is deluded in samsara. The Shravakas, another type, take selflessness of the individual as the path, so they do away with the self. There's some truth in it, but it's not going to get them to liberation. The path of the Pratyek Buddhas reverses interdependent origination and holds on to emptiness. So what they do is they take the wheel of life and they go backwards on the wheel of life, and they're obsessed with that, going backwards to come to freedom, but they don't ever get to complete freedom. The Sitra Matrins view all apparent existence as mind. The Madhyamakans apprehend everything as emptiness. So each of them have a truth, but not the whole truth. The Kriya Yoga emphasizes cleanliness and are attached to objects. The Upaya Tantrikas mix the view of the upper and lower Tantras. The Yoga Tantrikas regard, don't worry, I'm just giving you these, don't worry about them too much, regard the Samaya Sattva and Jnana Sattva as intrinsically separate. Mahayoga mistakenly perceives objects as real. The path of Anu Yoga, which is just before the great completion, conceives space and wisdom as cause and effect. All their experiences and realizations of the grounds and the path are merely one speck of the spontaneous presence of the great completion. like scooping water from the ocean and thinking it is the ocean. Realizing this, all the other vehicles become pitiful. So when you take one scoop out of the true nature of mind, and you think that little scoop is everything, that it's all about it, then you think that that's the whole ocean. But it isn't. It is the ocean, but it's not the whole ocean. Remember that. It's very, very interesting. Okay. Thing is ocean. Wisdom and primordial wisdom are actualized as the expansive awareness beyond accepting and rejecting the Buddha Samantabhadra. The essence of samsara, nirvana, and path is the great completion. Therefore, this is renowned as the path great completion. All the causal vehicles boast of the fruition without achieving it. Here, the actualization of Buddha nature is Samantabhadra itself. It's not Samantabhadra, is not a Buddha, it's your Buddha nature. And the essence of, Samantabhadra, all the samsaric appearances and mind are self-liberated as kayas and wisdoms. I'm going to press that point, not a lot of the points, just to get an idea. Without abandoning them, this is the authentic word of the Buddhas. Other than that, all the supposed fruitions of the other yanas are just exhausting, he said. Therefore, this is the fruition of all dharmas. It's spontaneously present as the fruition great completion. Without falling to the extremes of existence and peace, the great potential energy of knowledge and primordial wisdom blazes. Even though all these vehicles and their entrances don't exist separately, they are named for the benefit of those to be tamed. And we are those to be tamed. Thanks, Bern. That's all I want. Now, I know that's a long thing, and you might go, oh my God, Melanie, what do I do with all of that? Okay, I'm going to just take the teachings that Anam Thupten does of that whole thing. I'm not going to go piece by piece. I'm just going to take it and take the essence out of it so you can really enjoy it. And don't look so puzzled and so tired and so stressed. Just enjoy it, okay? Because it's absolutely beautiful when you realize it. And when you are in the midst of turmoil and difficult things, just to stop and say, okay, who am I? I'm actually identitylessness. I'm not who I am, and these things are not serious that I'm going through. When you go through that, it's absolutely exquisite. And that's what he's teaching us. And he says here, emptiness here is more than negation. Negation is, it's not this, it's not that, it's not this, it's not that. He says it's much more than not that. It's beyond any workings of our thinking mind, the mind we've cultivated from birth. It goes beyond all of that. It is the unity of everything, the true Dharmakaya. Dharmakaya Buddha nature is always present, and nothing can condition it. Nothing can change it. Do you know that if you go out and murder somebody, it doesn't change the Buddha nature? Do you know that if you go out and you serve thousands of people and commit beautiful, virtuous deeds, it does not change the Buddha nature? The reason we have to not murder and commit virtuous actions is because we're living in a relative world. And what we do relatively, like I was thinking of these terrorists that were killed, now, I don't know how Israel actually aimed at a single building underground and got these leaders of Hezbollah. But the bottom line is, I was thinking about them in the afterlife. And what happens to them in the afterlife? I mean, they have conditioned themselves right through their lives that what they have to do for Allah is kill all the people and subjugate all the people that don't believe in the same things as them. I mean, why can't they say, let everybody believe in what they want? Why have they got to impose it on anyone? And why do they have to kill? Now think of the conditioning of that mind that says, I am converting the world to my religion for the benefit of all the world. And when I'm finished, I'm going to sit in paradise and be given the fruits of all my labor. Let's think about that. I think about that a lot. What they don't understand is that your mind is the creator of all things. So when your mind has committed a lot of atrocities and has been really unvirtuous, that is the state of your mind. Therefore, in my opinion, and it's just my opinion for what it's worth, when you're finished, you're going to have that in your mind. And that is going to become the hell realm of your mind. And you're going to have to work through that until you see that your mind is beyond that you did not have to kill for your beliefs. You could have had your beliefs and taken all the people who wanted the same beliefs as you. You didn't have to kill people. You didn't have to take women and make them wrap themselves up and not be educated. You could have just let everybody do what they needed to do. Now, what kind of a mind goes into the bardos like that? You ponder it, because I ponder it a lot. Nothing can alter the true Buddha nature, nothing. It's sometimes called self-arisen awareness. It's not the kleshas, those are the negative emotions. It's not virtuous deeds. No birth, no death. It's unborn. It always was, is, and will be just the same. Nothing touches it. This is so important for you when you are practically applying this in your life, because you then begin to say, oh my God, there goes my human mind again. Like I'm challenged because my husband will do all the external things for the house and everything, but he won't pack up his stuff. I pack mine neatly. So we're fighting like anything because I'm saying, you haven't done this drawer, you haven't done that drawer. And he goes, leave me alone, I'm tired. Suddenly last night I thought, Melanie, why are you using Sem? You're driving him dilly. Just go and do it. Doesn't really make any difference. Just let it be like that. Most men won't pack up their things properly. They'll do electricity, they'll do all those kind of things, but they won't go and pack up. You were so nodding and do things. So I'm thinking to myself, I'm driving him dilly. Okay, so last night I'm sitting in the bathroom cleaning cupboards and everything, and his cupboards are over there with all his things, and oh my God, they are an abomination. And suddenly I let Semni work through me, and I said, why don't you just take a seat on top of the bath and I'm going to clean all your things out? He goes, I'm tired. I said, I know you're tired. Just let me clean your things out. And after an hour, we'd cleaned the whole cupboard out. We'd thrown all the junk out. I was happy and he was happy. But when I'm goading him, which is what we all do with our human mind, it doesn't work. I hope that will be a good example for all of you to understand. Because when you work with Semni, Semni sees the state of the other person, sees their needs, and then uses skillful means to get whatever has to be done, not your goading, pushing, dominating personality. It's very true, but it's not easy when you're the one packing the dirty boxes, okay? But it's true. It's true. And if you can understand that, it's difficult to really understand. because as human beings, we're so identified with the conditions of our being, our moods. As the Nam Thupten says, our shadow, if you're going through some kind of therapy, your shadow, your dark side comes up. And we conditioned by that dark side, trust me, okay, we really are. And our shadow and our karma pushes us. Why am I in this position where I haven't got enough money? Why am I in this position where I can't find this and that and the other? Why am I in this position when I can't do this and I can't do that and I can't find the right job? You're in exactly the right place. And the only reason you're in that place is so that you will bring to fruition your Buddha nature, which is not affected by whatever your circumstances are. You can fight with me on this, I have no problem, okay? Unborn is only discovered when all the notions of yourself are dissolved. That is what he's saying in this number 4. Sorry, I got number 5 there. That is what he's saying. He's saying it's all beyond it. I'm taking it and I'm trying to translate it for you into words that you can all understand. Okay. And he gives a beautiful example. Did I bring the book here? He gives a beautiful example of a discussion between Tuku Dreamed Ozer, who was the son and the Dharma regent of Dajjam Lingpa. He met with Lerab Lingpa at the time, and Lingpa said to him, some of your students are disgracing your father, their guru, by preaching an inauthentic doctrine. Since you are his son, I will have a dialogue with you to understand whether you understand your father's view or not. Tell me now, how do you define view, meditation, conduct, and fruition? And you know what? This beautiful son of Dajjam Lingpa, he gave his definition in one teeny paragraph. He said, view is to determine that everything is the unborn. Now think about that. That's your view. You're on top of the mountain. Nothing is permanent. It's all unborn. That is your view. Meditation is to maintain a state that goes beyond even the concept of distraction. So when you've got this view of the mountain and then you meditate, you're just in that view. It goes beyond the concept of even being distracted. Jack, come here now and stop barking immediately. We know you've got something to say. Okay, so that is meditation. Conduct is to train in the way of the unceasing. You just keep giving. Whatever you have to do, you just keep doing it. Conduct is to train in the way of the unceasing. Fruition, that's when you've achieved it, is to be established in that which is beyond mind. Then Lerab Lingpa was extremely happy and said, this is what they're saying. The son follows in his footsteps of his father should be like. So he was the great teacher, and he really understood. Have this view. This view go beyond your perceptions, beyond your conditioning, beyond all the things that you define yourself by. Your view goes beyond that. Okay, it's very important. And he says, the Buddha nature or the Dharmakaya is free from the 8 conceptual extremes, which means arising and ceasing. You have everything arising, it's a birth, and then it ceases with death. And then this happens, you move to another place, and it ceases. We have that concept. It's all wrong. It's just conceptual. Non-existence and permanence, coming and going, being multiple and being single. He says these are all the wrong concepts, says Dajjam Lingpa, okay? We need to have the 3 doors of liberation. And what are the 3 doors of liberation? Write them down because they're really worth pondering, okay? Emptiness is one. That means nothing tangible. It's full of potential. That's emptiness. Signlessness. Signlessness means the absence of characteristics. Signlessness, okay? The absence of characteristics. So signlessness means there are no characteristics. There's no concept. There's no anything. It's signlessness. There's nothing that is actually there. Then the third one is called desirelessness. Very different to desireless, because desireless, you could be a person who's just desireless. You could be an absolutely dull person who doesn't have any desire. That wouldn't be very nice, because I'd be boring you to tears, okay? Desirelessness means the absence of expectations. So you don't expect anything. What happens is okay. So you've got emptiness, signlessness, and desirelessness. And desirelessness is so important because it means you're not obsessed with a desire. You've got lots of things you like and you enjoy. I love teaching. That's a desire, I suppose. But desirelessness means you're not attached. It's full of possibility. You're not attached to it going in a particular way. And he says, the purpose of these 3 is for inner freedom that goes beyond hope and fear. We live on hope and fear. Goes beyond. Emptiness is fully rich and the embodiment of the 5 kayas, the 5 Buddha families, the 5 wisdoms. These describe what great emptiness is. Big is, not little is. So what we're talking about is, like I told you last time, or I told another group, I'm not sure what I'm saying to anyone anymore, but there's the essence. And out of the essence arises the pure expression. If you can see it, then you are liberated. You have pure perception. If you can't see it, you are bogged down by your vision of what you see, which is not pure sacred perception. And so when you actually see it, you'll see that everything in your body is actually 5 wisdoms, 5 Buddhas, 5 female Buddhas, 5 5 whatever, 5 families, 5 everything. That's how it expresses itself in pure form. But because of our impure perception, we see the concrete side of it. So instead of seeing mirror-like wisdom being shown to us, we see the anger and hatred. Instead of seeing each and every, instead of seeing the pure Ratna family, the pure family, the wisdom of equality, that means everything's equal, we see pride. I am better than you. You will do my bidding. You will do what I want. We see the pride. We don't see the beautiful wisdom of equality. So what he's saying in this verse is, and you really understand it, that if you are free from the concept, you see everything in its free, beautiful nature, not in all the poisons and the elements. We see tangible space. We see tangible space and fire and water and earth. Course, when it's free, it becomes these beautiful manifestations. Probably the squares, Tati, that the people, the primitive people saw, it becomes that. We see the whole world like that in the 5 wisdoms and the 5 everything. It's exquisite. Why can't we see it? Why can't we get it? We would avert. So much suffering. So, the verse says that these enlightened principles are already complete within Maha-yoga. So when you go to the big yoga, one of the 6 tantric classes in Nyingma tradition, okay, all the higher yanas start going up and up and up, and they become completely and totally different. And each one emphasizes something else in the practice, going higher and higher and higher to this pure sacred vision. I love it when I talk to Taisitu Rinpoche, because he gives you his pure perception, but he's naughty. He's really, really naughty. So you can relate to it, you know. I mean, when I pressed him that time, I said to him, I want to know how sound sounds when you don't hear it as the terrible sounds of broken glass and screaming at people and all of that. How does it sound? He goes, oh, I can't explain that. I said, yes, Rinpoche, explain it to me. You know, I do that with him. He likes it because he likes a bit of a challenge. Explain it to me. He says, oh dear. He says, only when I'm on an aeroplane. He says, then I put my head back like this. And suddenly it's all the sound. Ooh. It's one sound, beautiful, spacious, open. I want to hear that sound. I don't want to hear the sound of people screaming at me and the sound of awful noises and the sound of dogs barking. If I look at his barking purely that he's doing, I mean, I've got people coming in to pack us up today and everything. And so he is actually protecting me because he's barking like crazy because these people are in my house. And he's saying to me, listen, I need to protect you. How do I see that irritating barking as a pure sound, as a sound whereby I'm saying, thank you for your protection? You know, the whole world is like that, but we can't hear. I can see you all absolutely glued. Okay. Does anyone want to say anything? Because there is so much to teach you. I don't know how we'll do it. But anyway, the practice emphasizes the generation stage of Vajrayana. This method, when you do the deity practice, and Edie, this is especially for you because you say, I don't really understand it. When you do that creation of becoming the deity, like this morning, we became Chenrezi. Who's Chenrezi? Is he a guy walking along the path that I can see? Or is he Chenrezi in me that is absolutely exquisite, that lives on a Sambhogakaya level with all the sounds and the rainbows, and he's totally compassionate. Compassionate doesn't always mean kind. Compassionate sometimes gives you a clap when you really need it, because I want you to see that. So when I become Chenrezi, it changes my dualistic vision. It's not some deity out there. Oh, this Buddhism's got all these deities, like the Hindu had all the deities. It's nothing like that. The Buddha took it and he said, it's all inside you. We're just making it tangible so that you've got something to relate to. That's what he's saying. He says, this method makes us change dualistic vision to pure vision. It's called upatikrama in Sanskrit, but it's still contrived when we do the practice. And so Dajjom Lingpa says, eventually we must go beyond it. It's not the ultimate path. Maha-yoga is a doctrine with a non-dual sacred outlook that asserts Not only are all things empty, but everything is naturally sacred. In it, we purify our perceptions to sacredness. No more dualistic perception. Seeing the world as divided into, no more seeing the world as divided into sacred and secular. Upatikrama is built upon a rich system of sacred principles, such as 5 families, 3 to 5 kayas, 5 wisdoms, 5 Buddha fields, 5 father Buddhas, 5 mother Buddhas, mandalas, different aspects of the Buddha nature and the great emptiness that can be actualized in our experience. Now, would you like me to take you through an experience of going into that mandala as your meditation today? Okay, then get yourselves ready. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to get a little bit of help from Tulku Urgyen Rinpoche, and let's do it. Let's really do a beautiful meditation to understand what is in this verse. But I want you all to let go a little bit. Just try and enter the sacred space with me. Forget about all your things you're doing in your computer and your everything, and just enter that space with me. Oh, Jack, pure man. I want you to just breathe in to the count of 3 or 4 and breathe out to the count of 3 or 4. In and out. As you breathe in, I want you to take in the spaciousness of the Dharmakaya, of the Dharma Dhatu, space. And space is blue. It's the most vivid blue if you've ever seen it. I've seen it a number of times. It's absolutely blue. And when you see how vast it is, you know that there's space for everything there. And as you breathe out, let go of everything you're doing today. Let go of all your activities. Let go of everything. Just come with me. Pretend that Guru Rinpoche or Tara or Chenrezig have come and taken your hand, or Vajra Yogini, and said to you, let's go on a little journey. Come with me. Let's enter the sacred mandala where you can actually see absolutely everything. And we're walking into this beautiful pure land. Remember, the pure land is not outside there. It's inside you. And in the pure land, on a lotus and moon, on the state of emptiness, is the white Bhagavan, Vajra Sattva, with his pure white water, sitting there, holding a Vajra and bell, and visualized as beautiful ornaments. And the 3 places in him are marked Ah, and all the inconceivable wisdom, the gatherings of the body, speech, and mind, of all the beautiful deities, assembly of mandala deities. We are sitting there and we are just absorbing them absolutely beautifully. We are opening the wisdom eye and we are seeing what there is to see. So first, we're actually seeing the beautiful activity of the Buddha Akshobhya, the Vajra family. We are looking at this pure white state of the Vajra family. And we're seeing that in fact, it is complete mirror-like wisdom. All your angers, all your frustrations, all your grudges are transformed into mirror-like wisdom as though a mirror were being reflected to you. And the skandha, our ordinary consciousness, sem, which does everything through the senses and through the concepts and through all of that, that is totally transformed. The whole consciousness is transformed into primordial consciousness, the beautiful five wisdoms and the emptiness, the whiteness. It's all there. And we actually go, Akshobhya, we allow it to enter our beings. And as we walk around that mandala, when we are there in that white part, we feel the pure water, white water, flowing over us. The element water is what Vajrasattva's family, the Vajra family, are. We feel it pouring over us, purifying absolutely everything. And then we go into the next part of the mandala, the Ratna family, yellow in color, pure abundance. Earth is the element, pure abundance. We see the colors of the Ratna family, the jewel family, all in beautiful shapes and forms. And we realize that all our pride, all our ignorance, all the times that we've looked down on people, it all dissolves into the wisdom of equality. Everyone and everything, down to the mosquito, has Buddha nature. So there's no one who's superior to anyone else. We are just watching this beautiful yellow Ratna family, and the aggregate of the feelings, all those millions of sensations, are just automatically transmuted. And we feel the yellow wisdom of equality of the Ratna family. And then we go into Amitabha family, the lotus family, red with the passion for the truth, the beautiful passion for the truth. And Amitabha has discriminating, discerning wisdom. So when we see our passions, our desires, our craving, everything, when we see that, absolutely turning into discerning wisdom, no more cravings, no more attachment, no more human realm almost, no more a hungry ghost realm. And at that moment, because the discriminating wisdom teaches us the perception, all our perception is dissolved into pure perception. One of the skandhas, that Amitabha is the purification of that perception. And so we're in the red lotus family, really taking in no more craving, attachment, and the passion, and changing all the concepts, all the perceptions into pure perception. And then we walk into the next part of the mandala. All these magnificent beings are around us. They're in harmony. The sounds are the beautiful mantras. The fruit trees, everything is in abundance. And as we're walking around, we see all these deities engaged in various activities. None of them dualistic. They're all inside us. And we go into the next part of the mandala, which is the wisdom of perfected action, the green karma family. The karma family of Amoga Siddhi is the negative part, is all our envies and our jealousies are suddenly just transmuted into the wisdom of perfected action. We realize at that moment all the people we've been jealous of, they were all in the right place. There was no need when someone got the job you wanted, was because they had the qualities. We suddenly let that all dissolve, and the green wind of the karma family, the wind and the air, surrounds us completely and totally. And all our habits are dissolved in that moment. The habits of how we respond, the habits of our conditioning of our parents. We are in the pure, pure, pure wisdom of perfected action, green, wind, air, in a beautiful space. No more envy, no more jealousy. Everybody is just where it needs to be. And finally, we come into the last part of the mandala, feeling this beautiful space. And that is Varashana, who has the wisdom of the Dharma Dhatu, or the all-seeing wisdom. The color is blue, 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 blue. Varashana is the Buddha. And when we see it, we see the wisdom of the Dharma Dhatu, the wisdom of the essence, is blue, containing everything that we need. And really having all that we need, we feel that blue part of us being planted over us of Varashana. And at that moment, our form, the form is the skanda of Varashana. Our form is changing into a Vajra form. All the wrinkles are going. All the fatigue is going. We are a Vajra being at that moment when we enter that mandala. The form is totally transmuted. So whenever you are really feeling low and thinking, why am I in this situation? I want you to go into the mandala of the 100 deities. Those are the 100 aspects of our pure Buddha nature. And I want you to see your body, speech, and mind absolutely transformed so that you can see the purity, the sacred vision, the real colors, the real no more form, feelings, perception, habits, and consciousness, all of them gone. No more coarse earth, fire, water, and space, fire, air, water, and space. All of them are pure elemental forms. They're expressed in the forms of beautiful female deities. That's how the essence expresses itself. But we have walked so far from it that we believe that how we are now is how it really is. And it isn't. And it's time to change. I hope that's helpful to you. Just to give you an idea, because I spend a lot of time on the 100 deities and those aspects inside me and how they operate and how the mandala operates and how our skandhas, form, feelings, perception, our elements, everything is all just temporary and transient. Who we really are beautiful beings, but why can't we see it? And that's what Dajjal Lingpa is teaching about, establishing the characteristic and quality of the ground by understanding all of this. The theme of the sharp Vajra Tantra is primarily an illumination of the Dzogchen, yet it describes all the different yanas, all the different ways. Because if you aren't ready to go there, it's okay. You just go the long path, and you just keep going on it. It's really okay if you do. But what we're looking at, even while we're doing that, is the top, where we really are free and where we really have pure perception. I know you're all concentrating like crazy. Does anyone want to ask anything? Okay, I want you to know that the 5 wisdoms are the 5 different attributes of your enlightened mind. The 5 Buddha fields, we went in a Buddha field, are the physical, they're not physical realms. I used to think if you went to a Buddha field when you died, you had to go there. You don't go there. It's in your beautiful mind. So you awaken to it. You don't go there. These are the Buddha fields in Tantra. They are mandalas of enlightened realms of the Buddhas. They're purely a state of your awakened mind. Now, all of you sitting here today can really get there. Each of the 5 Buddha families, and he explains it, Anamtutta, has their own Buddha field. Vairashana is Akanishta, it's called. Akshabhya is Abhirati. Ratnasambhava is Srimati. Amitabha is Sukhavati or Devachin. Karma Prasiddhi is a Mogasiddhi's. Everything is sacred. So it's not going there. It's just sitting and going into any of the lands that you relate to, any of the field, any of the enlightened activities. And then you begin to understand this. And the Garbha Tantra captures the principle of the way the enlightened mind sees. It says, without a self-arisen awareness, knowing the true reality, even the realms of the Sugatas of the Buddhas appear as lower realms. At the moment the meaning of that equality, of that Dharmata is realized, even the lower realms become Buddha fields. So we're living in Akanishta now. We just can't see it. Now, I don't know if you're scaffing me out is that you're concentrating and pondering, or if you say, oh my God, Melanie, you're crazy to bring this to us, we can't understand. Or if you can really see that this is the way. You know, Mimi, you and I have lots of discussions because I know that you play with these wisdoms a lot since I've taught you that playing with the wisdom. You need to play with them. You know, every single day when I'm in the shower, wherever, I always do the 5 Buddha mantras because the mantras are the sound. And I just remind myself, I go, Vairashana flood us with the wisdom of the Dharma Dhatu and just take all the ignorance and delusion. And then when you get further with those mantras, you start to say the color and the element and the skanda and everything. You start to really play with it. I play with it like puppets. So it's really in my mind, so that every single scenario that I'm in, every single difficulty that I'm in, I'm quickly looking with that wisdom mind. I'm trying. I don't succeed, trust me, but I'm trying. Makes a huge difference to your life.
Mel?
Yes, please, Ron. I'm happy if you talk. Okay.
The one thing that stood out especially, and I really, is this, the 4 immeasurables and compassion. I really felt it when you spoke about it, Josh. He has my full compassion and understanding.
Don't kill him. No.
That was one of the highlights for me. It has answered so many questions. Really, that is the most beautiful thing I've heard.
Spot on, absolutely spot
But then the other thing, that if it weren't for optimists, then the pessimist wouldn't know how happy he isn't.
You are a character. One day you're going to write all those things in a book.
No, that's a fact, John. That is the one other aspect that I found with this whole, what you've described in this book, you can't let go of it now.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the things that I read when it came back is that you said that this would be the third and that it will be the closure to it. If it has to be, it has to be, but it would be very nice if it would carry on with that.
Now I have to finish at least that. There's so much to teach you from here. There are realms and realms and realms. And when I was looking at it this morning, I thought, Melanie, you can't rush through this material.
Okay, Mel, I've got one last question and then I'm going to keep still.
No,
Yeah.
you don't have to.
What was it now?
Sorry.
That I sometimes have this difficulty that when I'm working on some sort of difficulty, my heart says yes, my mind says no, and I'm still waiting for a report from my liver. So,
We're all there.
that sums it up.
Now that, but I love what you say, because you know what? People say to me, some people say, oh, Melanie, I spoke during your lecture. Now it's on recording. Now everybody can hear it and hear a thing. I give all my own examples. Okay, they go out to whoever listens to my things. But if the examples, if you can relate to the examples, then I'm so happy that my temporary, transient, rubbish life can serve as a purpose for all of you in some way. Do you know what I mean? That's why I give all the examples in my life of what I'm going through, because it's really important for you to understand that I go through exactly the same as you, but I keep on bringing myself back to awareness all the time. I never let it go. When I've had an argument with someone, I come and sit in here and I look with awareness, because I really want to. I don't want any more of this rubbish, temporary dramas of my life. I just want to finish what I need to finish. And I've told Guru Rinpoche, I said, whatever you do, just don't let me be an old doddering woman that's forgotten everything and that can't teach. I said, I'd rather die teaching than being looked after by someone. Let me pay my karma off by teaching and giving to a lot of people, because then it's worthwhile, you know. And I think that's what our lives are about, that we can stipulate things that we really want and ways of understanding your karma and understanding that your karma is not permanent. Your karma is something impermanent that you've created, and somehow it's got to be put into place. But you can put it into place by service. When people have got, I have so many people who are going through terrible financial times. Okay. And then I say to them, on a relative level, you see, on a relative level, somewhere in past lives, you've had a lack of generosity. So now you must generate generosity to be different on your relative life. Once you generate generosity, it can be anything. It can be stopping for the beggar on the side of the road and asking them how they are. It can be giving a sweet to a child. It can be whatever. But once you give from your own being, that you are creating the circumstances for relative generosity to come back to you. But just know that when you're in difficult situations, you're in the right place. You've created it the same way you created it. You can become aware of it and you can shine Rikpa on. That's what he's telling you. And you could suddenly see that this awful situation that I'm in is really something amazing. So wisdom, and then you can change it. It's really important. And just going back, and then we'll end and then I'll answer any question. I have to go quite soon. But just to end, it's so important for you to realize that connectivity, it's of no avail to go into a little cave somewhere unless you are really one of those that reaches Buddhahood like Milarepa did, and he could actually help beings from there. But for us, It's the connectivity is the important thing. If you've got a relationship with someone that isn't working out, this is what this is for. It's to help you work it differently so that you're not going on with the stuff. By the time you come to your gates of your bardos of going out of this body, you are absolutely and totally aware. You have cleaned up those karmic imprints and you are ready to awaken. By the time you come to the bardo of Dharmata, the second bardo after death, there you will see what I'm talking about today. And you will know straight away. Each family comes forward in all their color and you will recognize them. And once you recognize, know, you're liberated. So don't not recognize. And all of you can. You've all been coming on a regular basis. You really have got that ability to do it. So do it. Let's use what this beautiful being has left for us in a wonderful way. I'm not rushing, Ron. I can't because it's too important, all of this. I'm very happy to sometimes reduce it into language of our everyday life, but it's too important. But let's at least do one more. All right, so let's dedicate, and then I will answer any questions very quickly. I've got to go because they're packing up my house. So let's dedicate to all sentient beings and use. I love Fiona's new. She made a new because we both didn't like that translation of the Sunam. So let's really put all our dedications for all those that are going through the wars, killings on both sides of the fence, useless, senseless things, all in the name of religion and all sorts of things. It's just hopeless and useless. We dedicate for all those beings. May they know that this is a temporary, transient situation. They weren't in the wrong place. They were in the right place. But may they see this as a gate to awakening. And through this merit, may all beings attain omniscience. May all obscurations fall away from the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death. From the ocean of samsara, may all beings be freed. Sonam die
Tamche sepani, tonye ne pe dwanam pamche ne, chega nachi bala drupai, sepe sole drova drova sho. I think I just want to